Alright, what's up guys, Azura here, and today we are here to take a look at the newest incarnation for Altmile. This is supposed to be a Brave focused list, but I'm gonna be real, most of the Brave cards are hot doo-doo, but there are some cards that are still worth playing, so nonetheless we're still here to take a look at the deck. So without further ado, let's take a look at the list. So as you can see here, the majority of these cards are basically the same cards we've been playing before. Not a whole lot has changed about the list, but regardless, we will still go over the deck. So as per usual, let's go from top to bottom. First off, the starter is actually new. This is actually not Milius. I don't know his name, but his skill is, so he is GB1. Once CB1 and put it into Soul, at the start of your battle phase, you can draw one, and then for the rest of the turn, your Brave effects are active even if you have 4 more cards in hand. So for those who don't know, Brave is a state that you're in when you have 3 or less cards in your hand. So by using the starter for this one turn during battle phase, because that's where the majority of your Brave effects are relevant, is during the battle phase, this card makes it so that even if you have more than 3 cards in hand, i.e. 4 or more, you are still, all your Brave effects are still active. Quite relevant. This starter is basically mandatory for how the deck is playing now. So even though Milius is still a pretty good starter, if you're going to play anything remotely close to my list where you actually have Brave effects, mainly the Luminous Hope, this starter is very relevant. And its other skill, which is not locked behind GB but is locked behind Brave, is Arrest itself and gives him +3. This can be relevant early in the game, or for when you're trying to push, or if you're already in Brave and you just want to draw, you can use Rest itself first and then use the skill to put it in Soul. So this gives them +3. This is relevant because early in the game, if you went first, you can scale 3 columns really easily with the starter. You can go starter off the side, you can rest it and give a booster to the other side +3. And then now your columns will now be swinging for 9, 14, and 19. So you are exactly over. You're exactly scaling against a 9K with no intercepts, and you are and they hit no trigger. So this power skill that can come up early, but you are mainly playing it for the first effect to enable Brave, even if you have more than 3 in hand. So that's it for the starter. Grade 1s, for the most part, it's the same as what we were playing before, in like the old lists, but I'll go over anyways. Only 3 of this PG. This is the CC I think this is still the best PG the deck has. That's why we're playing the majority of this, but we are playing one of the Brave PG. Its skill is Brave. GB1 on play gets +2, and then at the end of the turn, CB1 mounts back to your hand. The reason we are playing one of this is because we are playing one Brave Lancer in the G zone, and I'll get to why that is relevant when we actually get to this, to get to the Brave Lancer. So just for now, just keep in back in mind that this is mainly played because it has Brave keyword in it and it can go back to hand. So as we're playing 3-1 split, I think the CCPG, the 1CC does matter a lot more for the most part, but I do like having the 1 searchable Brave PG, so that's why we're playing that. For Stride Fodder, now you have 2 Altmiles to search for, but you are still looking for the old Altmile is still your preferred ride, but nonetheless, this Stride Fodder is a booster at worst, and it can search your ride, so still play it at 4. 2 Sonic Goals. Brave, at the end of your turn, you can retire it to draw 1 in CC2. This card's actually pretty good now in conjunction with the starter. You can blow a bunch of CV all at once, and then just retire this off to get all of it back, plus a card in hand. So two's nice. If you draw into it, cool. If you don't draw into it, whatever. But I do think the Stellum is still more important. Its skill is GB1 Brave. During both player turns, it gets +3, and then if your Vanguard's an Altmile, and then from deck, if your Vanguard's grade 3 or higher Altmile, it gets +1 grade, so it's a searchable booster, and that's really all we're playing it for. So searchable booster I think is still more important. It can let you extend even a little further. You can remake a full column with Benizal. So just because of that, I think this card is still more important than the Sonical. If you play something like the Read On in grade 2, which is a card I'm not playing, but is a pseudo grade 2 booster, you could definitely cut down on the Cellums and play some more Read-Ons and then play more Sonicals if you wanted to, but I personally like it like this, that's why I'm playing it like this. But that's something you can try out if you want. If you want an even more Brave focused version of the deck, so yeah. That's it for grade 1s. Grade 2s, we're playing 2 Fragments. If you have 2 more grade 3s, or 2 more grade 2s, it gets +2 and on hit CC1 and Soul Charge 1, so always nice there. Soul is relevant obviously because of Benizal, and CC is always good because more CB goes more extensions. 3 Twin Swords, when soon it boosts attack hits a Vanguard, CB1, call a grade 2 other than 9 Twin Sword from your deck, so another extender. 4 Benizals on play. If your Vanguard's grade 3 or higher Altmile, GB1, Soul Blast 1, CB1, call a grade 3 from your deck, grade 2 from your deck that isn't itself, and he gets +2, so he can make a board for free, he can extend, yada yada yada, you know why this card's good. Definitely the best grade 2 in the deck. And now we have bumped up the Suleiman up to 4. His skill is GB1 Brave. During both players' turns, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or higher Altmile, +3, and then this unit attacks. If your Vanguard is a grade 3 or higher Altmile, CB1, discard one card from your hand and call a grade 2 from your deck other than a copy of itself and give that unit +2. So the reason we are playing 4 of him now is because he has the Brave keyword. I still don't think this card is particularly too important because you really only use him late into the game to extend. But because he has Brave keyword and he's the best card with Brave, we're going to max out on him. So 4 of him. That's up for grade 2s and grade 3s. And the reason why we are playing maxing on him is because mainly of this Altmile. This Altmile is only here because he is an alternate ride. If you end up bricking and cannot find the Stride Fodder or the original Altmile, because even if you have this Altmile in hand and you have Stride Fodder, you will use a Stride Fodder to search for the old Altmile because this new Altmile is not that good. GB2 Brave gets +5 somehow. I don't know. Never comes up for me. At the start of your turn, you can choose one card from your hand and call it and give it +5. So power condition is very whack there, as opposed to old Altmile where you can just give it after you stride. And then its other skills on your stride, you can choose to call one card from your hand, and then you can choose to give one of your Brave units +5, so only one. So to get the full like +5 to both sides, like you did with the old Altmile, you have to call one from hand and then have this happen, and then this will give +5 to the other side. So it's already worse, and then you can choose up to 2 grade 2s in your drop zone with Brave in your drop zone and put it back to bottom of your deck. So unlike the old Altmile that can recycle anything, this one only recycles units with Brave. The only Brave unit you're playing is a Suleiman, because I don't think the other cards are particularly good. So that's why I chose to choose the max on Suleiman. So if I do end up being stuck on this, I can at least recycle all the Suleimans back to my deck. So yeah, so overall this Altmile, because it's so Brave focused, I think it is strictly worse than the new Altmile. Unless you are specifically playing a full-on Brave version of this deck, which means you'd be cutting the Twin Swords, you'd be cutting the Fragments for more Brave cards. But at the moment, I think all the cards that have Brave right now are really bad for the most part. I think Suleiman is the only good one. I think Read On is acceptable, and I think the other double rare is like kind of okay. But I think the old grade 2s you were playing before are just better than going full-on Brave. I do think this Altmile will get better once we get more and more Brave grade 2s, but right now I think this card is just not that good. So yeah, he's mainly here just in case you do whiff on the old Altmile. You have 4 more Altmiles to ride that at least let you play the game, because your best grade 2 being the Benizal and Suleiman 2, I guess, would require you to have a Benizal Vanguard, and you don't want to be a vanilla striding Aerial if you can help it. So just because of that, that's what we play for the new Altmile is just a emergency ride. Next up, we play solely one of this old man on horse. GB1 with unit attacks advantage +4, so it's pretty cool. Okay, you can swing for big numbers. And then deck, if you're in Brave, because -1 grade, so this is like your 14th emergency grade 2 you can call from your deck with this. It's still in your deck by that point in the game, so it's there. It's cool. I've always liked this card in the old list because it was more emergency grade 3s. If you don't value this new Altmile's emergency ride, if you think you're a very skilled player and can draw the old Altmile every single game, I think it's perfectly fine to cut all of these new Altmiles and play like other cards in the slot, being this old man. I know some Japanese players still play Blaster Blade and Gancelot in their deck. I don't know how they're finding space for Blaster Blade, but if you can definitely still play Gancelot here. But personally, I value having emergency rides more than anything, so yeah. But yeah, if you don't like these Altmiles, you can definitely play some other cards in these slots. And finally, we have the old Altmile, your ideal ride. GB2, something gets +5. I don't remember what this was. I think it was like front row gets +5. And then when you stride, you can make call up to 2 cards from hand. And then you give 2 units +5, and then you can choose 1 grade 2 from drop and recycle it. So it recycles your grade 2s. You can pop anything with power. Yeah, just a good card, still your best ride. No reason not to play that for. Oh yeah, and then obviously the heal guards. Heal guards are heal guards, so I'm not going to go over these. And finally, your G zone. So my G zone's a little. I don't know what actually the other players are playing. I don't know what the Japanese players are playing. So I'm still playing the one Gablade because Gablade is a in case you cannot go into Luminous first stride, in case you don't want to use your starter. Gablade lets you. Gablade still lets you do all your old plays on hit call rate 2. You can still do all your old stuff, your old combos. So the one here just in case I cannot get into Brave. If you're not scared of that at all, you can definitely cut this and something else and play like a pair of Saint Blue or something like that in here, because I think Saint Blue is still a pretty okay card. So there's that. 3 aerials from roll +3. GB2 on play G flip call grade 2, get the unit +5. Makes the board for free. More face up equals more power for Tengen. So still play it for that. Still a pretty solid stride. 1 Tengen. When student attacks, CV1 flip anything, or on play CV1 flip anything. You get to gain following skills. Your farmer gets power per aerial, and then call a card. I was doing attacks and give it +5. So this card is still pretty good, still a pretty good finisher. But I think your spot is best finisher for the most part has been replaced by the Luminous Hope, which we'll go over to right after the Fightus. On play flip anything, get the fly into a discard 1. Call a grade 2 from deck. If you call has Brave, draw 1. And then GB3 if you're in Brave on attack if you face a copy of Fightus in your G zone. Retire 1 of your opponent's rear and give 2 units +5. This card is mainly just here to deal with back row intercepts or like extra intercepts in the back. So things like that don't go into this card too often, but it is definitely a card you want in your G zone and a 2-of just to deal with those situations. And finally, the new star of the show, the new like main star for this deck is the Luminous Hope. So its skill is at the start of your battle phase, flip anything in your G zone, and for every face-up copy of you have of itself, it's a G zone, it gets +10, and then all your Brave units get +1k as well. And then Brave, when this unit attacks, if you have a face-up copy of itself in your G zone, so basically you have to have a copy of itself face-up to do anything. So you need at least 2 for this card to work. As it attacks, call a grade 2 from your deck, and then if your G zone has 3 or more face-up units with Brave keyword face-up, it also gets a crit. So yeah, so this card is because it's still it's not locked on GB2, so on first stride it is basically a Gabblade that gets to be on attack Gabblade instead of on hit Gabblade, meaning either if you push them to 5 or if you want to just call Benizal immediately, you can be super greedy with your extensions. You can go like Van and then like stack a trigger power on the Benizal so that he can hit solo, so that your other side can extend and you still have a booster for the other side. So you can be really greedy with first stride, and then later, and then on second stride, if you're going for a game with this card doesn't cost a CB, meaning you can do 1 extra extension as opposed to Tengen, because Tengen is CB1 to actually get its call. This card is CB0 to get that call off. So just because of that, I think this card is not only a better first stride, but for the most part a better second stride. If you're coming from 5, this card's actually no, even if you're coming from 4, this card's better because you get a crit. So meaning you don't have to worry about first damage defensive or 5th damage defensive. So just because of that, I think this card for the most part, as long as you can get into Brave, I think this card for the most part is just better than Tengen better than both Tengen and Gabblade in most situations. And because of that, I think optimally it is a 4-of. I think at minimum you need 3 of this card to work. And finally, we have the one last card in the G zone, the Brave Lancer. Brave gets +3 on attacks event, and then GB3 is unit attack CB1. Call up to 3 cards with Brave from your deck, and then for every 1 card you call, you discard 1 card. So this card here is emergency fill a board. You can call it PG and then the PG back to your hand. That's why we're playing one of the Brave PG. You can use it to call boosters as well. You can use this to call down Selim because he is Brave. Same with Sonical. So this card just an emergency one-of. Doesn't count too often. It just ends up being flip fodder half the time. So this card definitely can be replaced by anything, in my opinion. Most importantly, I think it should be something with Brave just so you can flip it with the Luminous Hope. So if you have 4, you can use the 4th one as a 3rd stride if you need to for whatever reason. So yeah. So that's it for the G zone. Honestly speaking, this deck has not changed that much at all. It is just the old deck plus, for me at least, an emergency ride, and then a better Tengen / better Gabblade. So yeah. So I'll engage for left with some commentary, and I'll see you guys there, I guess. So for now, peace out. So here we are with the games. So the first game I played against Kagero. So this match you're probably running into a lot. Kagero is quite common. Same with Altmile. I do go second here, so definitely good. This is definitely still like the premier go second hit face win game kind of deck. So it's pretty okay. Have rides, have your dudes put down, mulligan to a PG, have an optimal ride. All I really need to draw here over the course of like 3 turns is to find some extra stride fodder. Personally, I don't really see a reason to hold to grade 3s in hand for stride fodder, so there's that. So that's why I opted to put that back. So he rides. I drew the stride fodder immediately, so obviously we're at the Sonic Go. Starter in Altmile should always go to the side because this deck is very, very reliant on its boosters, and you need boosters to push. So I see no reason to ever put starter behind that Van in any circumstance in this deck. So yeah, so you will always see me put starter off to the side in this deck. Boosters are very important. Even for this one example, even if you use it, if you, for example, don't use it, it's on booster on the side. That's why you want it there. He searches Blade Mash, tries to aggro me a bit. No offensive, so I do just go to 2 here. No trigger. No need for him to use Karma because my deck has no easy way to kill it. I do lose the Brave PG here, so the Brave Lancer play is out of the question now. I want to switch PG. Right, the Suleiman because I have more copies of that card in the deck. I have less fragments to play with, therefore I want to recycle the fragments more than the Suleiman. I should push here, push the 3, so I can get potentially a guard check in next turn. But from looking at this hand, spoilers, I do actually not have any boosters to play with on my first stride turn. So, but it'll be nice to show what Luminous Hope can do as opposed to something like Gabblade in that situation. So when we get to that, we'll see exactly what Luminous Hope is pretty good, even is pretty okay even without a booster. So my opponent here slams on double intercept. He wants to push as fast as possible, end the game as fast as possible, which is fair. You don't really want Altmile to just push you and then you eat shit and then you die. So there's that. No defensive, so I'm just going to go to 4 here, which really sucks. But I do have the 2 cards in hand, so even if I don't kill next turn, which I probably won't, my opponent probably won't be able to kill me. Drew an extra guard, so that's even better. Drew a 3rd guard. I think it's a little bit too much at this point. So yeah, I'll first try Luminous Hope here. I do have a bunch of cards in hand, so I will end up having to use a starter to proc Braves. I do not want to be slamming down all my cards out of my hand to achieve Brave. So toss the Stride Fodder, hold the grade 3 for as long as I can, because the grade 3 is Novell Fodder. I wish a Stride Fodder for the next turn. There's a Luminous Hope. And for Stride, there's a Suleiman. I'll call that as attacker. I don't remember if I mentioned this in my in the actual deck profile or not, but in this situation here, I have to use a starter to proc Brave. So I'll lose the booster here, and I don't even have extra attackers. I want to hold the 3 Stride Fighter for next turn. Something interesting to know is that Luminous Hope works when attacking anything. It doesn't have to attack Van to proc its skill to call a card. So this card works pretty well even against the decks that put up back row intercepts. So you can go rear, and then you can just have Luminous Hope swing into like a back row intercept. And then after that, you can call like a Benizal, and you still get attacks to face in. So just because of that, Luminous Hope also helps you deal with back row intercept, which is really nice. Something that before it was just fighters who could do that, but now Luminous Hope can also do that. So here, as you can see, my hand is really bad for playing aggro. So this let me draw a card, not sure grade 3, it's whatever. This flip the Luminous Hope, so I can actually call something off of this. So rear to rear, and then as you can see here, you'll see that I use the Luminous Hope to attack, and Luminous Hope will call me a grade 2 from deck because it doesn't have to swing a Van. So I think here I called a Benizal, and I used Benizal to call a Fragment, and I just prayed for 1 trigger to try poke for 2 damage here. Because Benny is 11, and then Fragment also comes out as 11. Because I didn't really see a point in calling a booster here for the Benizal to save for next turn, because I'll probably end up dying anyways. Because Kagero has to retire all the stuff. I do hit the trigger, but I'm pretty sure my opponent also hit a defensive here, and that was my only trigger hit this turn, so only got to push to 4, unfortunately. But yeah, as you can see here, with this deck, when you don't draw your boosters, it's really bad. In hindsight, I probably could have slammed down the heal guard considering I had 3 PGs in my hand. They guaranteed to push to 5. But I played it a little greedy here, and I got punished for it because I only saw 1 trigger and hit defensive as well, so that kind of sucks for me. And so my opponent will do Kagero things, probably went with Titan. A Titan, retire. And here, I think I saw level 40, I hit defensive heal, so unfortunately this means his rear's not hitting me. That's good, but at this point, but that means he can also play for a heal. But I'm pretty sure my opponent did not check a heal here, meaning I have full range to just go for game now. Yeah, so take the damage. No defensive, whatever, that's not hitting me anymore. And now with this hand, I think I would. I don't remember what I did here, but I definitely think I would just slam all my guards and stuff just to try to go for game. No reason not to go for it. I probably could live the next turn too, so there was an argument just to hit slave just with that. But I think with a hand the size of his, with like 6 cards in hand, I think it's pretty safe to just go for game here. Toss the 3 to Stride. I think I went for Brave Lancer here, or not Brave Lancer, Luminous Hope here. Oh, never mind, I went for Aerial. Wait, I decided to play it safe here instead. I decided to play it safe here to go for Aerial because I don't have cards in hand. I want to hold as much of these cards in hand as possible. Push the 5 on this turn and end the game next turn because I have more than enough cards to live whatever Kagero can do to me next turn. And this just to check what card I want to put back. I think I put the Benizal back just because that's the most important piece in your deck. And then I use Benizal. I'm pretty sure I use Benizal to call a... or use Aerial to call Benizal. And then Benizal will call me Suleiman. And then Suleiman can call me something to the other side. And then can call me a Twin Sword to the other side. But yeah, so Aerial pretty good here. So use this. This calls me the Suleiman. And then Benizal can go to rear, and since Suleiman doesn't need a booster to extend, I can just toss whatever in my hand here to call a Twin Sword to the other side, and a Twin Sword can call a Benizal that can then call a another Stellum to the behind it to create a whole new column. Yeah, toss that, call Twin Sword. So yeah, very conservative play, but still gets the job done. No defensive here. He hits another PG damage. I think here I decided to play for a 1-pass to make the right column hit for a PG, because the left side I call will never hit for over a PG anyways, because it'll only be 21, or I did a bunch of triggers for that. So I swing Van first to try to hit a trigger to make the right side 31. I do hit the trigger, so both Van and Rear are both asking for PGs now. Swing, and then this here would have called. Oh, my opponent surrendered here, but there I would have used Twin Sword to call a Benizal, and then Benizal would have called me a Sellen behind it, so that creates a whole 20, I think 24 column, so basically 21 column, and that would have hit for another check. So that there's pretty good. He didn't have to blood and stuff, so he ate a lot of damage for that. So that's game one. Showed off Luminous Hope as something you can do on first stride. I think that showed off the card pretty well, because I swung that at rear. You can't do that with Gab Blade, so I think it was pretty good showing for the card, but keep in mind that card can be used as a finisher as well. I think just because of the situation I was in that game, I had the guards to guarantee live the follow-up. I didn't really see a reason to overcommit there, so that's why I went for the aerial instead of the Luminous Hope. But if my opponent on the previous turn didn't hit the defenses, I probably would have gone to Luminous Hope for game, because I would have had like 4 or 5 open CB, and he definitely would have died from that. So that's game one. And game two, I think I played against Shadow Paladin Witches. Yeah. Alright, this one, I play against Shadow Paladin Witches. I go second again. So very nice, obviously. Going second is always good on this deck. Again, the premier goes second face deck. Oh yeah, and that first game also goes to show you how important boosters are in this deck. If you didn't already know, on that first ride, I definitely could have made a guaranteed push to 5. I just had one booster, and I didn't have it, so I couldn't push the 5 guaranteed on that. So that really sucks. So yeah, booster is very important, and that's exactly why the starter should always go to the side in this deck. Here, my opponent just rides. Pretty bad internet here apparently. So let's skip forward. Not a whole lot happens in the beginning. Like usually Altmile on first turn, they don't want to put all the great ones just to have them die. So usually Altmile, even though it is an aggro deck, usually do hold off on early committing on the very first turn, even go second. So swing Van Pass, not too much going on here. He also just swings Van Pass, damage PG. That being said, on turn 2, usually you'll slam down at least one grade 2 to try to push them to 3 on your grade 2 turn, so that's exactly what I'm doing here. And again, since I'm playing a bunch of Suleimans in deck, he is the ideal ride target. He's the thing I care to recycle the least, considering I have the most amount of him in the deck, along with Benizal, but Benizal is also a 1-card make-up board, so holding Benizal in hand is quite more important than a Suleiman. That sounds pretty nice. I have Ride, I have Stride Fodder, I have an extra booster for both sides, and by slamming everything down, I will have Brave active without having to use the starter, so I will have 2 boosters to push with. So my opponent here is grade stuck apparently, so he uses the grade 2 to call over my grade 2, to call the 0 over it. And I think here he actually just swung at the rear for whatever reason, I think. Although I was going to call over it anyway, so he swung at that rear for whatever reason, which is like whatever, cool. And then he gets a trigger. I go to 2, get a draw, and here I'll go for Luminous Hope. That's my first stride. Pretty repetitive deck, not a whole lot going on with this deck. Like the deck it's the same plays for the most part. Yeah, so here I choose to do this to call 2 boosters. So because I do think I use the starter. I use this to search Stride Fodder for next turn because I wanted to use the starter here. Also, in this matchup specifically, the new Fighters Collection Stride makes you ride from Soul. So here I specifically wanted to have the Altmile in my hand so that if he did find a ride and he did use it, I wanted to make sure I had a re-ride ready, just in case, so I could re-ride and actually do my game plan again. At worst, I toss 2 to Stride for next turn. So here, this is the reason why I slammed the Stride Fodder down to search for the grade 3, and I also used the starter instead, so I could be in Brave. So here I search another copy of the old Altmile, so I have a re-ride for next turn in case I need it. At worst, it is Stride Fodder. I move this back. Use the skill here, and then here I think I used Benizal to call a fragment because considering he doesn't have double intercept, I can just refund the hit immediately. And as you can see there, normally in Altmile you want to Soul Blast out their grade 2s, so you're gonna cycle them back. Here specifically, I chose not to because I knew again with the stride, if he made me re-ride, I could ride the 2 and then ride back up to 3. So that's why I did that. The only reason I know this so well is I got beamed by this exactly 1 time, and never again. So yeah, Luminous Hope here flips, so I can actually use the skill to call something when he attacks. Then as you see, the Bravener got plus 1k power as well. And here, I think I got a really good push in. I don't think he hit any defenses, so I think I just got a clean push to 5 while getting 2 checks in, I think. Van is Giant. Van calls Benizil here. I actually did think, I'm pretty sure I also messed up my columns here. I was too lazy to do math. I was thinking, like, could I make proper columns here? I'm scaling this at 9k base here, right? So, I call this Benizil. I think I called a... Yeah. If I just flip these around, I think I would have scaled 24 on both sides. Just go to show how bad at math I am, so... Yeah, because you can see this is 23, and this is 25. If I just flop these around, they both would have been 24, because 12 plus 12 is 24, 11 plus 13 is 24. So here I messed up my columns just because I was like, oh, yeah, whatever, I'll just play them wherever. But I think I did hit a trigger for the right side to make up for my bad math, yeah. Hit the draw here, so that's both sides are now scaling. 25, and 26. He did hit the defensive, so I would have gotten punished if I didn't hit the trigger there. But obviously I could have fixed that, but just did my math properly. 28 got 2 checks in, very nice. And then the Sonic, you get to see the Sonic will actually do something. Here you find both the CB here, and he lets me CC1 or CC2 rather. So very nice. I have all my open CB for next one for follow up. Nice there. One is some pretty iffy internet. Rise the Riaz. He doesn't do a whole lot this turn, but he does whiff on the Riaz, which is pretty funny. Just jokes on him, right? All my triggers are in hand. I searched the grade 3, I have 3 heals in hand. Not surprising that I whiff up the top 5. When all the triggers are in your hand, they're not in your deck, so jokes on him. But the Riaz, they get buffed in that like really old patch, like ages ago, where if it whiffs, he refunds the full cost. So it's pretty cool for him, I guess. He legions 4 triggers back, but at this point, I think he's so far behind it doesn't really even matter. So this is just a push for 1 unless he flips the crits that he's playing in his deck. So he swings, doesn't heal down, and he got checked for 2 cards last turn, and this should be game this turn. So, go on. Oh yeah, here also remembered, I drew into my last Benizil. So here, with 3 open CB, on Tengen, that is only a Benizil and Twin Sword extension. But on a Luminous Hope, with 3 open CB, you can do Benizil into Suleiman into Twin Sword, into use Twin Sword to call something. So you can actually get, here in this situation, I could have gotten 1 extra attack if I drew anything but the last Benizil in my deck. So because here I drew into the last Benizil, like I checked grade 3 here, I checked, so let's go back. You can see that my deck, because I was going to call the 1 Benizil that I drew into and then recycle a Suleiman, but here I drew into the last Benizil, so I lost out on 1 check because of that, not even because of CB cost, I just didn't have the required 2s left in my deck. So because of that, I'm pretty sure I went to Tengen here instead because Tengen scales slightly better. So that is still the one upside to Tengen, is that Tengen scales better than Luminous Hope because Tengen gives additional power to the front row. Okay, so here I just do the simple Altmile stuff. Just call cards, hit face. And so here I just end up doing the simple 3CB play that you global players everyone's probably used to seeing by now. Tengen into Benizil into Twin Sword. This is like the most stock standard play that this deck does. Power Lab Booster, that's the last column down swing. And then Benizil hits. He gets the heal here, and I actually did make one last misplay here. As you can see, I am very bad at math here. I use skill here, despite if him double 6 healing, this would not have connected because I was 1k short on scaling, because 17 plus the biggest thing I would have called would have been Frag, which is 11, plus the extra 11 plus extra 2 from the Tengen only made 30, so ignore the fact that I clicked the button here. This literally did not scale properly at all whatsoever. Yeah, as you can see, I called this. I burnt the CB for no reasons. I was like, oh yeah, I beat over 6 heal here. Turns out I can't do math again, so yeah, that column's only 30. It'd be double 6 healed here. I would have wasted a CB, took a grade 2 in my deck for absolutely no reason. So don't do that. Learn your math in this deck. That's one thing I have never bothered learning with this deck. Is all the math on the scaling columns. Like I honestly speaking, I don't know the Jingle Theory and math numbers with this deck. I just kind of hit buttons, click face, hit face, works well enough. On that first stride turn, I again didn't do math. I was 1k off on scale. I just needed to swap them around with a skill both sides. And on that last turn, I clicked the button despite not scaling numbers. So yeah, so don't do that. That's an example of what you don't do. So yeah, so that's it for the games. This deck is still relatively simple overall. Again, I think the most important thing to learn with this deck is your scaling. But yeah, that's it for this deck profile. Tell me guys what you think about this deck down below in the comments. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.